Reading 33 on the psychological commentaries on the teachings of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll, Volume 1. On the study of three forces in oneself, Part 4. We have greater opportunities of observing ourselves than of observing the external world. We live very little in the external world, which is foreign to us. We are intermittently aware of it, but notice very little about it. We can pass the same house 1,000 times and be unable to describe it. Actually, we are far more permanent, even for ourselves, than is the world. This is one reason why the study of three forces begins with self-observation. Also, you must remember that a force is invisible, and our more direct contact with what is invisible is by means of self-observation. You must understand that in trying to study this question of forces, you are not studying things. A desire is a force, not a thing, for example. A train of thought is a force and is not a thing. An idea is a force, not a thing. One reason why we have so much difficulty in understanding three forces is that we tend to see in everything one force. We think of force as one, and in everything that happens, in any manifestation, in any event, we tend to see merely one force. We attribute it to one force. We see one action in one event. This is partly due to our inability to think of more than one thing at a time as a rule. Sometimes we think in terms of two things, but to think in terms of three things is beyond us. For example, it is beyond formatory thought. An event, for instance, must always be good or bad, right or wrong for us. We see only one action in it, and further, we do not even think of events being due to forces. We see an apple falling from the tree and merely see the apple now lying on the ground. We see a magnet attracting or repulsing one pole of a compass. We see it all, but scarcely think of forces. In this case, obviously different kinds of forces. Nor do we notice how forces change for us. At one moment we are attracted by a thing, and next moment repelled by the same thing. Or we are repelled, and then an idea comes to us, and we feel attracted. We do not realize that the thing at one time conducts one force, and at another time an opposite one. In the same way, our relationship to a person changes. That is, the person undergoes a change of sign for us. And this means that in the triad of forces that produce the relationship, there has been a change of forces. For example, mechanical love can turn to hate, mechanical trust to suspicion, and so on. All such ordinary manifestations in human life are due to forces and changes in these forces. I'm not asking you to designate, in such cases, the forces, but to notice them. The three forces cannot be studied theoretically. The only practical way of studying three forces in ourselves is by doing something. By this is meant imitating or personifying in ourselves one of the three forces in relation to some other force, either one, acting in ourselves, or two, in external events. Example: 1. Struggle with habits. Struggle with suffering. Struggle with ignorance. 2. Struggle with expression of unpleasant emotions towards someone one mechanically dislikes. Struggle to carry out some difficult task. In this way, we can begin to realize what second force is for us in each case, and from this can begin to catch a glimpse of third force. Example: a sudden accession of force that assists one's struggle with a particular task means a change in the quality of the neutralizing force. For example, encouragement may have this effect. The active force in the triad is thus increased, and the task, the second force, may be more easily gone on with. On the other hand, it may weaken active force by creating the imagination that one is able to do the task, so that the task becomes active. For example, the resisting force becomes the strongest.